Hello, my favorite first graders. So happy to see you again or talk to you again. I can't really see you, but I can talk to you. And today we're going to do another math lesson. I'm going to jump into our next chapter on plane figures and solid figures. Now before, we've talked about shapes before. We've talked about triangles and circles and rectangles and those shapes, like here's a triangle. We know that a triangle has 3 equal sides. They're all the same. We talked about circles, how circles have curved lines and no straight lines whatsoever. We talked about rectangles before, how a rectangle has 4 lines and 4 corners, and 2 lines are short and 2 lines are long. And then our square shape. We talked about how a square has 4 equal sides and 4 corners. Now these types of shapes that we've talked about before, these are called plane figures because they're flat. They're very flat. They just lay flat right on my table. I brought these from school. These are plane figures. But in our chapter that you're about to learn and do your workbook pages in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about solid figures. Now the difference between a solid figure and a flat figure is a solid figure has height, and some of you, and you can even stack some of them. And some have very particular shapes to them. And I went around my house and I tried to find as many solid figures as I can find. The first solid figure that you're going to talk about, or that you're going to learn about, and this is probably backwards, I hope you can see it, is a sphere. Now a sphere reminds me a lot of a circle shape. A sphere is completely curved. There's nothing flat on a curve. Here's a baseball. A baseball is a perfect example of a sphere. It's completely round all the way around. And even if I put it on my desk or I put it, if I played with it outside, it would roll. So this is a curved solid figure and we call it a sphere. And so on your workbook pages, you're going to see different examples of spheres. Another one I found in my house was one of Blake's basketballs. A basketball is a sphere. Now later on in this chapter, it's going to talk about shapes that we can stack. Now, is it practical to stack spheres together? And the answer is no, because if I tried to stack my baseball on top of my basketball, you know that they would just roll right off. We cannot stack spheres. It's just not going to work. Now, another shape that you're going to talk about, or you're going to learn about, I keep saying talk, we're not going to talk, you're going to learn. You're going to learn and read about these on your pages. The next shape that you're going to see about, remember it's a solid figure. This one's called a rectangular prism. Now if I look carefully at that word, rectangular prism, I see the word rectangle. And you're right, I can see a rectangle shape with a rectangular prism. Now I found some examples of those in my house too. The first one I found was my Kleenex box. Now if you'll look at this Kleenex box, it has some height to it. I can turn it this way, I can turn it all the way around. Has lots of height, but if I look carefully on the sides, if I look carefully on the bottom, guess what shape I see? I see a rectangle. In fact, if I put this flat on a piece of paper or a dry erase board and I traced the bottom, I would see a rectangle shape. But remember, this is not a flat shape. It's not flat at all. It's flat on the bottom, but I mean it's not flat like this. This is our flat rectangle. This is a plane figure. This is a solid figure. It has height. Now, remember when we stacked the spheres together? Now, what would happen if I put my rectangular prism on the bottom and I put a sphere on top? Now would that stack very well? My rectangular prism would stay in place, but again, my sphere would roll around and it wouldn't stack very well at all. So here is a rectangular prism, and you're going to find this shape on some of your workbook pages as well. Now our next solid figure that you're going to learn about is the cube. Now I just ate lunch and I had a cheese cube. In my lunch I had some cheese and crackers. And a cube shape, here's the word cube, it looks like this. It reminds me a lot of a square. In fact, if I turn it on the bottom, here I see that square shape. If I traced this on a piece of paper or a dry erase board, and I traced all the way around it, I would see a square shape. But remember, this is a solid figure. It has height, and it's very different than our plane figure. Remember, plane figure is just flat. It's what we did earlier in the year, but now on my solid figure, you can see that it has lots of different sides, but on the bottom, we see that it is a perfect square shape. Now let's think about this. If I have a cube shape, could I stack it with my rectangular prism? Let's see if those would stack nicely. Yes, they stack nicely together because they are made up of flat sides on the bottom. In fact, all kinds of flat sides when I turn it over. And that way we can stack them nicely. But if I put that sphere back on top, my sphere is just going to roll off. So remember, we can't stack spheres very well. But I can stack a cube, and I can stack my rectangular prism. Oh, I forgot to show you another rectangular prism. It also reminded me of my lunch. Here's a box of Cheez-Its. My box of Cheez-Its is a rectangular prism. If I turn it this way, you're going to see that rectangular shape. If you look at the bottom, you will see that rectangular shape. In fact, if I put this flat on a piece of paper and I traced all the way around the bottom, it would make the rectangular shape. Therefore, that's called a rectangular prism. And it has height. It's tall. And remember, it's a solid figure. So here we have our cube, rectangular prism. Now let's move on to our next shape that you're going to learn about this week. I like this one. To me, this one is fun. This is called a cylinder. Say the word cylinder. Now, a cylinder is the soft C sound. Remember our phonics rule? There's the Y. It comes right after the C. That reminds my brain that it's the soft C sound. We don't say cylinder. No, it's a cylinder, the soft C sound. And as I was looking through my house, I was thinking, what do I have that's a cylinder shape? Now, a cylinder that I found in my pantry was my box of, or my container, it's not really a box, it's a cylinder of oatmeal. Now, a cylinder is a little bit different than a cube and a rectangular prism. A cylinder has two flat sides. It has one on top and one on the bottom. But if you look at this right here, if I turn it this way, a cylinder could roll. A cylinder has a curved sides. All of that is curved, and then a flat side on the bottom and a flat side on the top. Now let's think. Could I stack things on top of a cylinder? Well, I'm going to put this flat on my desk in front of me. It's very steady. Let's see if I can stack a rectangular prism. Ah, it works. Nothing's falling off. Let's see if I can do a cube. Whoop. There's my cube. It stacks perfectly. Nothing's falling off, and I have a very small desk right in front of me. Nothing's falling off. So on a cylinder, or with a cylinder, you could stack things. Let's try our sphere. Here's my baseball. Remember that sphere? It's just gonna roll all the way around. Remember a sphere? There's nothing flat about a sphere. I can't stack it. There's nothing flat. It is all curved. A cylinder, however, has two flat sides, and then we have that curved side where I could roll it. Your last solid figure that you're going to learn about on your phonics pages is the cone. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find anything that was a cone in my house, but I was thinking of things. I was thinking of a party hat. I didn't have one. I was looking this morning, I couldn't find one, a party hat. I was also thinking of like a traffic cone. And I don't have that either in my house. Maybe you do. Maybe you could look around your house and see what solid figures you have. Do you have any cylinders? Do you have any cubes? Do you have any rectangular prisms? I want you to go and do a little solid figure hunt in your house and see how many you can find. Now the cone, it does have that flat side on the bottom. Think of that party hat, where it has a flat side on the bottom where your hat goes. And even if you're at a birthday party, you've seen people put the party hat right on the table in front of you. And it's not rolling off because it has that flat side on the bottom. But then it also has those curved shapes around it. So a cone has a flat bottom, and then it has the curved sides around. And it also has that pointy top at the front. Now let's think. Let's imagine a party hat, a cone-shaped hat, or a traffic cone. If I put a sphere on top of that, do you think it would stay? I'm thinking not. I'm thinking of a party hat. I'm thinking it would just roll right off. However, if I stuck my party hat on top of my cylinder, do you think it would stay? Yeah, it would stay because it has that flat bottom and it's not going to roll. Now the sides are curved, kind of like our cylinder. Our sides are curved, but it could stack. It could even stack on a cube. Imagine that party hat and stack it on that cube. Alrighty, so this week, I want you to go around your house and I want you to look for solid figures. I also want you to do cool things like, let's trace the bottom of a cylinder and you will see that circle. Or trace the bottom of a cube and you will see that square. Now remember, solid figures, they have height. Some have flat surfaces and some have curved surfaces. Also, don't forget to practice your math facts and subtraction facts. I listed on our lesson plans lots of different activities you could do online. You could play all kinds of different math games to practice your subtraction and your addition facts. And don't forget to do your very best, work a little bit each day. Remember how much I love you and I miss you and I'm praying for you. Take care. I love you. Bye-bye.